The Waco ISD Board of Trustees is hereby called to order. We have recessed closed session and will reconvene to continue to discuss personnel under the Texas Government Code, but we hate to keep you folks waiting. So I want to extend a very warm welcome to all of you tonight. All items discussed or voted upon this evening have been posted as required by state law. And not only do I welcome everyone here in the room, but also those folks watching the meeting on television tonight. We appreciate the time you've taken to join us and for your interest in our school district. At this moment, I'd ask you all to pause with me as we take time for prayer, contemplation, reflection, or meditation. Thank you. At this time, I will call, I think, Mr. Beer to the mic, and we will begin our special recognition.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, we're pleased to have two students from Bells Hill Elementary School to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please welcome Camilla Medina and Juan Esquivel. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, students. Dr. Kincannon, members of the board, would you please join me in front of the dais for tonight's special recognitions? We'll begin the special recognition portion of our meeting this evening, as we do each month, with an introduction of our pledge leaders who both attend Bells Hill Elementary. Camilla Medina is a fifth grader at Bells Hill and says her favorite subject is math. She enjoys running club, dancing, and cooking. When she grows up, Camilla wants to become a lawyer. Camilla's teacher says she is a bubbly fifth grader who is curious and a hard worker. She loves catching up with her friends at recess and brings that personality into the classroom. And even though Camilla says her favorite color is black, her joy shines every day. Camilla's mother, Claudia Monroy, and father, Juan Medina, have accompanied her here tonight. Would you please stand so that we can recognize you as well? And thank you for sharing your daughter with us. Juan Esquivel is also a fifth grader at Bells Hill Elementary. His favorite classes are math and social studies. Juan is already something of a Renaissance man and enjoys football, soccer, baseball, art, UIL, running club, and garden club. That's a full schedule. When he grows up, Juan wants to pursue a career as a bounty hunter, and it sounds like he has the energy for it. Juan's teacher says he is a natural leader who encourages other students to try their best. He always has a smile on his face, but balances his outgoing personality with hard work very well. Juan's mother, Aurora Mocasio, and father, Juan Esquivel, have joined him this evening. Would you please stand so that we can recognize you as well? Thank you for raising such a wonderful son and sharing him with Waco ISD. Waco ISD students who participate in Special Olympics have the opportunity to compete in a variety of sports, including bocce ball, bowling, basketball, and track and field. Waco ISD has consistently competed in the local tournaments held at Midway, Baylor University's Mars McLean Gym, Fort Hood, and Connolly over the past 7 years. Waco ISD has competed against more than 10 other districts in each tournament. Our students have the opportunity to participate in Special Olympics starting in elementary school, and many received gold medals in their different events over the course of their involvement. These athletes have continuously worked hard and improved each year they've participated. And tonight, we're excited to honor them for this commitment and their success by introducing you to a group of athletes who have met the necessary requirements to earn their varsity letter jackets in recognition of their participation and success in Special Olympics. First up, representing Waco High, please welcome Travion Cole. And also from Waco High, please welcome Jesus Hernandez. Representing University High is a graduate of the class of 2019, Austin Welch. We know these students find success in part to the dedication of their Special Olympics coaches. Please join me in welcoming some of those coaches tonight, beginning with the head of the Special Olympics delegation for Waco ISD, Sean Kirkpatrick. Amber Newcomb, Aaron Fanning, Tiffany Tomberlin, and Mitch Holcomb. Also, if you're a family member of one of these outstanding student athletes, would you please stand so that we can recognize you as well at this time? Congratulations again to these students for their success, hard work, and dedication. Waco ISD is proud to have had you representing us. Every fall, the Advanced Placement, or AP program, recognizes high school students who have demonstrated outstanding college-level achievement through their performance on multiple AP exams. This year, 28 Waco ISD students have been recognized as AP Scholars with Honor, or AP Scholars with Distinction. First up, we'd like to introduce some students who have earned the AP Scholar Award, which is given to a student who receives a score of 3 or higher on 3 or more AP exams. Please join me in welcoming our AP Scholars from Waco High, starting with Catherine Burnham. Rebecca Heldenbrand. And Melissa Moya Martinez. Many of our AP Scholars are recent graduates who have moved on to college and are unable to join us this evening. Next up, we'd like to introduce, though, the AP Scholars from University High who are able to join us tonight, starting with Cassidy Kopus. Ismael Romero. And Leslie Vivanco. We also have 2 recent graduates of University High with us tonight, Marisol Palacios and Jimeno Reynoso. Or maybe they weren't able to join us this evening after all. Our next group of students are AP Scholars with Honor, and they earned an average score of at least 3.25 on all AP exams taken, including scores of 3 or higher on 4 or more exams. From Waco High, please welcome Bridget Eichenberg. And Evelyn Guevara. From University High, our AP Scholars with Honor, starting with Kerwin Rodriguez. And finally, our AP Scholar with Distinction. To get this recognition, you had to earn an average score of at least 3.5 on all AP exams taken, including scores of 3 or higher on 5 or more exams. From Waco High, please join me in celebrating the success of Sophia Swinky. While we had a number of AP scholars who were unable to join us tonight, there's one student who wasn't able to be with us that I do want to mention in particular, and that's Harper Hoover, a senior from Waco High. Not only did Harper receive the AP Scholar with Distinction designation, but she was also named a National AP Scholar. To receive that award, she had to receive an average score of at least 4 on all AP exams taken and scores of 4 or higher on 8 or more exams. We're incredibly proud of Harper, and we're incredibly proud of all of our AP scholars who highlight the tremendous success of our advanced academics department. Please join me in welcoming the director of that department, Ashley Duncan. And finally, if you're a family member of one of these outstanding scholars, would you please stand so that we can celebrate you and thank you for sharing your students with us? We're always proud when our students have the opportunity to showcase their skills and talents, whether that's through the AP Scholars Program or in performances outside of the Waco community. Over the summer, the Waco High Choir was selected by the Texas Education Agency to perform at a State Board of Education meeting, which was held September 13th at the William B. Travis State Office Building in Austin. The group of 24 students performed 3 selections that morning, representing us incredibly well. And so tonight, we're excited to celebrate our Waco High Choir delegation who performed at that meeting, starting with Faith Allen, Devontae Bible, Dominic DeSopo, Bridget Eichenberg, Catherine Burnham, Caitlin Eusebio Garcia, Caitlin. Jairo Ramiro. Isabel Weaver. Jaylon Young. Danielle Zuniga. And Rocio Perez. The Waco High Choir is under the direction of Brentley Bartlett and Carrie Forehand. And again, if you're the family member of one of these outstanding student musicians, would you please stand so that we can recognize you at this time? Thank you again to our students and choir directors from Waco High for representing us at the State Board of Education. Raise Your Hand Texas has sponsored over 1,200 principals from across the state to attend training at the Harvard Graduate School of Education's Principals Center. The center offers a variety of professional development programs designed to empower and inspire school leaders. After a very competitive selection process, applicants who are selected receive an all-expenses-paid training opportunity and also become a member of a statewide network of Raise Your Hand Texas alumni. And tonight, we'd like to recognize one of our principals who sought out this professional development opportunity to raise the level of her craft and was selected to be a part of this very prestigious group. Please welcome the principal of Dean Highland Elementary, Tia Allen. And I just want to share this description Ms. Allen gave us of the experience. She said it gave her the opportunity to learn alongside individuals from around the world, including Australia and the Middle East, while getting the tools needed to lead her campus closer to its goals and gaining insight into the educational leadership that she continues to use daily. She's certainly grateful to Raise Your Hand Texas for this opportunity, and we're grateful to her for seeking it out. Congratulations, Ms. Allen. We appreciate your leadership. It's not the only prestigious program that took our educators to a national stage that we want to highlight tonight. Waco ISD's Parents as Teachers has again earned the National Blue Ribbon status for their program, which includes an invitation to attend the Parents as Teachers International Conference, which will be held next month in St. Louis, Missouri. The quality endorsement and improvement process that they have to go through to earn this endorsement ensures that Parents as Teacher affiliates are achieving fidelity to the model of the Parents as Teachers program and delivering high-quality services. Essential requirements for the Blue Ribbon designation include the frequency of visits to families' homes, the child screenings that take place, the goal setting that happens with families, connecting families to resources, making sure that children receive well visits and immunizations. Right now, we have 18 children and their families who are enrolled in this great program. And tonight, I'm excited to introduce you to a team of people who are making a difference for those kids. First, please welcome Gwen James, the Director of Early Childhood Education. Anita Henderson is our lead parent educator. Regina Cotton is a parent educator. And also, Yuri Gonzalez is one of our parent educators. I want to congratulate this entire team for their work to run their program with fidelity and for the recognition that they've received for their efforts. We're proud to have you representing us, and we're grateful for the difference that you make in the lives of young children who, before long, will be entering our pre-K and kindergarten classrooms. And with that, we conclude tonight's special recognitions.
Next on our agenda tonight is the consent agenda. There are a couple of items that I've been asked to pull. Yeah, we'll give everybody a few more minutes.
That's a good idea.
So again, there are a couple of items on the consent agenda that I've been asked to pull, and those are items M and P. No action will be taken on those tonight. And was there anything else on the consent agenda that any member of the board wanted to pull for discussion? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion. Yes, of course. No? No?
You need a motion.
No, I'm waiting on a motion.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented, except for items M and P.
I'll second the motion.
We'll give everybody just a moment to catch up. Yes. Everybody good? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. That leads us to Superintendent's report. Dr. Kincannon.
All right, good evening. I have a few items that I wanted to share with you this evening. The first is an enrollment update, and I have a few slides to go with that. School year is off to a great start, and as you know, the PEAMS snapshot date is always the last Friday in October, and that's when we will submit all of our official data to the state. So we're watching that data closely, and we'll continue to refine it as we approach that deadline for submission. And our director of PEAMS, Mr. Patrick Upmore, is doing a fine job of helping with that. As of today, enrollment was sitting at 14,937 students. And you might move to the next slide. There you go. You can see our numbers are changing daily, and that's normal, and then will continue to happen through the end of October when we level out. I'd like to talk, for the purposes of this presentation, about the data from the Friday following Labor Day. So that's the data that we captured here, although I told you today's enrollment. So as you can see from this slide, our total number of elementary students is approximately 7,838 students. And I will make sure you get a copy of this. I realize you don't have it. That's a slight increase over last year. First grade is the largest group of students currently with 1,200 students. And that represents an increase from last year when we were sitting at 1,127 students at the elementary level. Middle school enrollment is also up on the next slide. You can see that, but not quite as much as elementary. There are currently 3,059 students in grades 6 through 8. Last year we had 3,020 students. High school numbers also have a very slight increase as well, and we did surpass 4,000 students once again. You can see a couple of years ago when we were over 4,000. High school can be a little tricky at the beginning of the school year as students are changing schedules and we're settling in, and so we'll continue to watch those numbers carefully over the next several weeks. The next slide shows that we had a slight decrease in enrollment last year, but this year we have an increase of approximately 100 students across the district. And then on the next slide, you can see the changes by grade level from year to year. And I think what's important to note there that by grade cohort, you have a range of 813 students in grade 12 being your lowest grade, and 1,202 students in the first grade. I was pleased to see pre-K enrollment, and that was sitting at 998 students as compared to 1,172 students in kindergarten. And so that's a really high number of pre-K students, and that's really good news for instruction. And you want those numbers to be as close as possible to your kindergarten. So that was great. For demographics, on the next slide, and I'm so sorry you can't see that, you'll notice that in all areas that the data is relatively steady and has been across the district. The largest student group in Waco ISD is the Hispanic Latino group at 60% of the student population. Black African American student group is 28.5%, and white student group is 8.8%. And then the final slide shows enrollment in programs and other groups that you could take a look at, CTE, limited English proficient, special ed. But what I wanted to point out is that the percent of economically disadvantaged students is currently sitting at 86.5%, which is in line with the percentage from the 2017 snapshot data of 87.3%. So right there where we were. As you know, last year the data reported to the state was undercounted for economically disadvantaged students at 76.9%, and to the extent that students were undercounted as economically disadvantaged, varying by campuses, there was some negative impact on academic distinctions earned by campuses and overall campus ratings, accountability ratings. So that has been an area of focus for the district since the registration process began, and we're continuing to monitor that that subgroup.
May I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
What's the accounting for the difference in the at-risk numbers?
Good question. That's actually the next thing I wanted to talk about. That's another area of focus is the at-risk group. There are some campuses where the numbers are lower than they have been in past trends, and that's really not unusual this time of year. There's a very specific coding process to code students. There's some indicators by the state, and that takes some time for teachers to work through. So we'll monitor that, and you should see those go up before we submit the data. And then there is an area that I would like to explore soon, and that is the percentage of students in special education. As of the Friday following Labor Day, 8.8% of Waco ISD students were in special education programs, and that's slightly up from last year, but it's still below the state average of 9.1%, and below the national average of 14%. So I do want to explore that. And then finally, I would just say that I have asked Templeton Demographics, the district's demographer, to prepare a full report with projections for you using this year's data, and I expect for them to bring that to you at the October workshop meeting, and so you can see where we're headed. Okay, the next item is our 2019 Comprehensive and Targeted Improvement Plans. And those are related to the state's A through F accountability system. Based on the 2019 ratings, the district is required to submit targeted school improvement plans to the Texas Education Agency for multiple campuses, and that would be due to an F rating and or a comprehensive rating. Campuses were either identified as comprehensive campuses or targeted campuses based on their ratings in Domain 3, and we'll spend a significant amount of time on this at the October workshop meeting when we review the plans. Of our 5 non-transformation zone campuses required to submit improvement plans, 3 are comprehensive and have scored an F on the accountability system. That's Brazos High School, Cesar Chavez Middle School, and Dean Highland Elementary. This is the first year for Cesar Chavez and Dean Highland to be labeled as comprehensive. However, because they have that label, the state requires that at a minimum that they keep that label for 2 years, whether or not the campus improves. So that will be with them. Brazos High School is comprehensive re-identified, meaning that this is their second year to receive that label. Targeted D campuses include Kendrick Elementary, Lake Air Montessori, and Parkdale Elementary. Those schools missed targets, federal targets, for 3 years in a row in the same subgroup. Mountain View Elementary and South Waco Elementary are schools which received an F overall and have a federal label of targeted for having missed federal standards for at least one group in 3 areas for 3 years or more. And you don't have to remember all of this. We'll go over it again next month. Kendrick Elementary, Lake Air Montessori, and Parkdale Elementary are schools which received a D overall and are considered targeted for having missed federal standards for at least one group in 3 years three areas for 3 years or more, and they will need a board-approved plan. However, their plans do not have to be submitted to the state as the others do. Cedar Ridge, Crestview, and Hillcrest have similar requirements, although they did receive a C rating. So, all of that to say, we have some things that are required by the state. On September 12th and the 13th, the Educational Service Center Region 12 conducted training here in this room for each of the campuses to talk about the Effective Schools Framework and to identify focus areas for the year in order to develop the required plans that have to be submitted to the state. And then this week, a district team, which included myself, met with 8 principals to review, discuss, and prepare their plans. And we'll be submitting those plans to TEA tomorrow for review by the agency staff. And then once we get that feedback back from the state, then those plans will be revised and brought to you in October for your consideration and approval. But I want to point out some of the common themes as we talked through our plans this week with principals in our conversations, which are reflected in the plans. First, there's a need to better understand the A through F accountability system, so we'll be working on that. There's a need to train our school leaders in data-driven instructional planning. And this has come up over time and time again since I've been in the district, the need to have district customized scope and sequence curriculum documents which are aligned to the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. And so those focus areas, along with some others that principals identified, are included in the plans. You'll find those in the district improvement plan, which is coming, as well as campus improvement plans. And I want you to know that in a regular year, I would normally present you with district and campus improvement plans in August. But however, since I just entered the district, those will be taking a little bit longer, and so I will get those to you. We'll be working through them. And then in addition to the 8 campuses that I just discussed, the 3 schools operated by the Transformation Waco also received a comprehensive label that was Carver, J.H. Hines, and those 2 schools had F ratings. And Brook Avenue Elementary is also comprehensive as a result of the rating from last year of an F, even though they received a C this year. Alta Vista Elementary and Indian Spring Middle School received C ratings this year and are labeled as targeted campuses because they missed their targets for the same subgroup for 3 years in a row in one or more areas. And so these campuses will also have to submit plans to the state, and those will be approved by the Transformation Waco Board of Directors. All right, next item, just a quick summary of my first days in Waco ISD. Today was day 16 in Waco ISD, and so with school already in session when I arrived, I literally did hit the ground running. And I want to give you some perspective on that. Tomorrow is already the last day of the first 6-week grading period. I've had the opportunity to visit 17 schools, and as well as the Wiley Opportunity Center. In addition, Coach Tusa gave me a tour of some district athletic facilities. I've attended an Educational Foundation Board meeting, an intergovernmental joint meeting with the City of Waco. I have participated in the Racial Equity Institute hosted by the Cooper and Waco ISD Foundations, and I want to mention that I did have 3 principals join me for that. The principal of Waco High School, Mr. Stewart, Cesar Chavez principal, Mr. McAdoo, and the University High School principal, Mr. Edison, all attended as well. I did sit in on the 2 days of school improvement training on the Effective Schools Framework, and I spent the better part of 2 days this week working on those improvement plans that we'll be submitting tomorrow. And I've been to the tasbeeh conference with you guys. This morning I toured the Waco and enjoyed that very much. And tomorrow I will be attending the Guama and the Challenge Academy. And Mr. Vadanya keeps telling me about Guama, so I'll be anxious to go tomorrow. I have enjoyed getting to know everyone. I'm quickly getting a feel for the culture of the school district and identifying the strengths and the opportunities for improvement. I want to thank you for approving the budget amendment this evening. I've noticed several things as I've been touring facilities, identified some furniture needs that we could address immediately, and so we thank you for allowing us to take care of those quickly. We'll also begin a facilities planning process to address long-term needs. I have met with architects already to begin that process. And we'll also use some of the budget amendment that you approved for some needed repairs at some campuses that were identified during walks. And then finally, just noticed that we have some worn rugs in our elementary classrooms where children spend a lot of time on the floor reading with their teachers, and I wanted to take care of that pretty quickly, so we're working on a plan to replace those. And we're replacing a good number of classrooms of furniture at Waco High School, and we're excited about that. Future events. Next week on October 1st is the National Night Out, hosted by the Waco Police Department. That will be 6 to 8 p.m. at the Police Department at 2015 Alexander Avenue. October 10th is the board workshop. October the 14th is a student holiday, professional development day. October 24th is a regular board meeting. November 14th is a board team building session that we scheduled. I think we heard back from did we hear back? Most of you. And then the November board meeting is scheduled for November 21st. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm glad you told us we didn't have to keep notes because I've about given up. A lot of work there. Next is our annual ESL and bilingual program evaluation. Grace Benson.
Good afternoon. Good evening, esteemed Board of Trustees. It's been a long day. It's great to see everyone. Superintendent Dr. Kincannon. I'm here to provide you with the annual evaluation for our ESL and bilingual programs and a report. I've also provided you with some data, some achievement data and language proficiency data for our students. And so I will begin by talking about the programs that we currently have at Waco ISD. We have a transitional bilingual early exit program. This is a language acquisition program and is not a maintenance program. So we use the students' first language as a vehicle to introduce them to the English language, and then we eventually transition them to all English instruction. And it's not a maintenance model because we exit the students as soon as they show that language proficiency, and we have it in our elementary program. We also are very excited that this is the second year that we have a dual language immersion two-way program, where one of the great things about this program is that we have students who are English learners in a classroom with monolingual students who only speak English. And so both students are learning content in English and in Spanish. It is taught by one of our best bilingual teachers, Miss Marie Antonio, who I want to recognize. When we thought of where to put the program and the rationale of where we wanted to place it, she was the first person that came to mind because of her instructional strength and instructional ability. One thing to note is that the state has incentivized funding for dual language programs. They are considered the Cadillac of all bilingual programs, and the research shows that the outcomes are stronger for students who attend dual language programs. We also have an ESL content-based program at both the secondary and elementary level. In order to meet the criteria, an elementary English learner has to be taught by an ESL certified teacher in a self-contained classroom, or if departmentalized, all teachers who are teaching the core content have to have ESL certification. At the secondary level, all core content teachers serving the student have to have ESL certification. So we mostly see this type of placement and programming at our elementary level, and at our secondary level, we have mostly ESL pullout. In order to meet criteria for ESL pullout, the ELAR teacher who is teaching the student, whether it's elementary or secondary, needs to be ESL certified, and we find that this is the way that we meet compliance the most in our district, and our teachers have been working hard since the regulations were changed last year to obtain their ESL certification. We have held ESL academies for teachers all throughout last year and already have had them this year for our teachers as well. This is our ESL and bilingual program staffing. We provided for the state last year. We provided information regarding how many teachers we have that are currently ESL and bilingual certified, and we have to do that every year. We have to share that information with our esteemed board, as well as the number of teachers that had to receive a bilingual waiver, exemption, and a ESL waiver. Last year, we had approximately 44 bilingual teachers and 270 hold ESL certification. We filed a waiver for 53 ESL teachers and 3 bilingual teachers. We also provided professional development for teachers. There is a detailed report that we keep in district for our esteemed board. If you want to have more detail regarding the attendance, who was trained, and the funding for the professional development, I do have a detailed report that is available and that we keep in-house. Some of our professional development opportunities included ESL certification academies, language proficiency assessment committee trainings at the beginning, middle, and end of the year. We had literacy trainings, word wall trainings, and sheltered instruction trainings. These are just some of the examples of the trainings that we have provided. And so as a department, we pride ourselves in that we serve the campuses and we serve the students. Our priority is to be there as a support, whether it's direct or indirect. We have staff that work directly with students, providing linguistic and academic support. Some of them are here tonight, and I'm going to ask them to stand, and I'm going to quickly introduce them to the board, if they can please stand. And so I'll begin on this side. We have Ms. Jennifer Segura. She's one of our instructional aides who is also works with our newcomers directly to help them learn the English language. We have Ms. Alondra Castillo. She is also one of our instructional aides that works directly with our newcomers and helps them to learn the English language. We have Ms. Cassia Cortez. She's our ESL strategist interventionist. We also have Ms. Melissa Johnson. She is one of our English learner content specialists. And the newest addition to our English learner department family is Mr. Randy James. He is going to be working directly with our high schools. We're very excited about this position and that we could make this happen. He will be working directly with Waco High, University High, and Brazos to help us reduce the dropout rate and to work directly with our students on academic achievement and linguistic ability. And we also have Ms. Lynn Callentine, our ESL content specialist for secondary schools. And so I'm really proud of our team. They are hardworking. They do whatever it takes to support our kids in the campuses. No matter if it's after school, before school, or on a Saturday, they're here. So thank you so much for everything you do. And so some of the support that we provide is data analysis and collaboration with campus administrators, LPAC chairs, ESL, and bilingual teachers to identify language proficiency and academic needs of English learners. We provide curriculum and instructional support, such as coaching, model teaching, and resource support. We provide direct developmental, linguistic, and academic support, and you met our whole team that provides that support. And all staff have been trained in specialized interventions and curriculum, such as our Rigor, which is by Margarita Calderon, which is a program specifically for our older English learners. And we are also, as an entire team, trained in LLI by Fountas and Pinnell, which is the leveled literacy intervention. We also provide the professional development throughout the school year on areas that we identify as needs. We look at our data and we set up our professional development for the year in that manner. And we've already had professional development to address the listening and speaking domains of English proficiency. Another program that And so we have another program that I want to share with our esteemed board. We have our Language Acquisition Summer School Program. In that program, we had last year a total of 174 students that attended. We invite all our pre-K and kindergarten English learners. And our campuses that hosted us were Bells Hill Elementary and Dean Highland Elementary. And so I'll go on into our demographics and just give you a quick overview of our demographics. We had 2,754 English learners. This also includes does not include our monitored students. As of this year, we have to include our monitored students up to year 4. We had approximately 673 bilingual students, and the rest of our students were in the ESL programs. We have 64 monitored students at this time and 207 that are monitored year 2. And when I present to you next year, I will be presenting you with information for monitored students in years 1 through 4. And we had 64 students as of September that have met exit criteria that we have received permission from parents to exit from the program. And so I have provided our esteemed board with data. It's a lot of data, so I'm not going to go through all of the data with you, but I have shared the data with you. So as you have a chance to review the data, if you have any questions, if there's any more information I can provide for you, please don't hesitate to contact me, and I will provide you with that data. I will go over some highlights from the data that I shared with you. Overall, we have seen consistent gains for our district's English learners throughout the past 3 years, and some of the highlights include the number of 4th grade English learners that approaches grade level on STAR reading has increased by 26%. The number of 5th grade English learners that approaches grade level on STAR reading has increased by 25%. The number of 4th grade English learners that approaches grade level on STAR writing has increased by 19%. And the number of 5th grade English learners that approaches grade level on STAR Math has increased by 21%. And the number of 8th grade English learners that approaches grade level on STAR Science has increased by 26%. Other items to note on the data provided demonstrate that Waco ISD's English learners perform higher than the state LEP average in the following areas: 5th grade math, 8th grade reading, math, science, and Algebra 1, English 2, and biology. However, we did see a drop in U.S. history, and that's one area where we will be working with Mr. Randy James to address that area, and we will be digging deep into that data so that we can increase. That was an area where we did drop. We saw pretty consistent gains for across all areas except in U.S. history.
And they don't have the report, so we'll make sure you get it. We were still refining it up until the end, so
and
apologies.
I brought hard copies too, in case
great.
they'd like
Thank you.
them to. And so I'm going to go straight to TELPAS and tell you a little bit about how TELPAS is different this year. And so in Texas, we have the Texas English Language Proficiency Assessment, and what it does is it measures the students' English language proficiency. Throughout the past few years, the TELPAS assessment has changed somewhat. It used to be that reading had the highest weight, and then writing, and then 10% was allocated to listening and then to speaking. And this year, TELPAS is different, with the weights being equal across all language domains. And so I wanted to visit with you a little bit about this because TELPAS is going to be very important in our accountability system. It is the English proficiency assessment that is included in the accountability calculations for campuses. Growth for English learners is always important in achievement, but language proficiency growth is especially important in the English language proficiency status, which is one target on domain 3 for campuses that have 25 or more English learners on their campus. And starting in the 2018-2019 school year, we are really working with campuses to address especially the language domains of listening and speaking. When you look at the data for TELPAS, one language domain is really going to jump out at you, and that's going to be the speaking domain. We notice that as the students get older, they get more quiet, and socially, children would tend to do that, but especially students that are English learners because they're embarrassed of their accent. And so I always tell the story of my mother. I'm an immigrant. I came here. I was an English learner. And my mom, when she got her first job, she worked at the Miami-Dade County schools for 30 years, and I remember that when she had her first job, people would make fun of her accent. And one day, her boss pulled her aside and said, "Don't be ashamed of your accent. That just means you speak 2 languages." And so she really took that to heart, and it made her feel proud that she was bilingual. And so we work really hard with our students to ensure that we ingrain that in them as well. But what we noted was that with the speaking domain, it's a lot lower the higher you get. And so our high school students have levels in the single digits, which you'll note in the data. And so we have been working with teachers. That's an area we are addressing aggressively. We already had a training that we held at Mountain View for teachers from all over the district, and we had many teachers that attended. We already have had campuses that have asked us to come present at their campuses to their staff specifically, and we're also they've requested newcomer trainings, and so we're working on that as well. And so I just wanted to make sure that, for our esteemed board, that you knew that we are addressing TELPAS. That is an area of focus for us this year because we know how it can impact accountability, especially in Domain 3. Mm-hmm. And so at this time, if you have any questions or...
Mr. President, I have a question. So if I understand correctly, and you can kind of help me.
Yes.
With TELPAS, it went from the teacher kind of evaluating the kind of some of the listening, speaking, and then part of it was online. And I'm, from what I heard, everything is kind of going online now,
yes.
so that the kids really kind of have to get used to hearing themselves kind of through the computer. Can you tell me, are you guys getting the kids used to that? Or
yes, we are working with campuses to ensure that they're practicing with the students. That's another thing we've seen across the state, that the students are getting used to being assessed that way, and talking into a microphone, and especially when they're English learners, they're just so hesitant to do that. And so we're really working with campuses to get them to practice with the students so that we can see the results on the actual test. There are practice tests available.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you very
much. You always do such a good job, and a lot of interesting information.
Thank you. Thank you, President Tikel.
The next item on our agenda is to discuss the tassa tasbeeh convention. Most of the board attended the tassa tasbeeh convention this past weekend.
We have a roll call.
I'm not calling anybody out. No. And I just wanted to give y'all an opportunity if you'd like to share anything that was particularly interesting or notable, or something that just caught your interest. Of course, Mr. Manning serves as our delegate to the Assembly, and he was kind enough to provide a looks like to be a very informative legislative summary for us, because I know we've got a big update coming. So does anybody willing to share? Yes, Mr.
President.
Sykes. Yeah, Mr. Manning.
For the tasbeeh legislature session, I will give you. I'm going to make copies of the legislations that I think are important to us. But really, to be honest with you, it was kind of dull this year. It wasn't exciting as it usually is. So, but I will make some copies of the different ones that may be valuable to Waco Independent School District.
Good, thank you. This side, Mr. Sykes.
Yes, thank you. I'll just give a broad overview. The tassa tasbeeh conference is an annual conference with the Texas Association of School Administrators and Texas Association of School Boards, where it's a very well-organized opportunity for boards and administrators to seek out specialized topics with presenters from school districts, regional service centers, et cetera. So it's a very concentrated opportunity for boards and administrators to effectively listen and learn and become better acquainted with things that we deal with all the time throughout our functions within the district, whether it be campus level, administrative level, or board level. So it's a very good conference. I particularly enjoyed the topics centering around facilities management, learning that a lot of what we do surrounding facilities affects the learning environment, anywhere from HVAC, clean air, to safety, security, campus equipment, equipment in the classroom, roofing, all the issues that we deal with, that many of which are tied to maintenance dollars. And our Ms. Davis will certainly represent that maintenance dollars, and Mr. Carrera will understand that our maintenance dollars are the hardest dollars to come up with. So with the superintendent going through campus visits and hitting on some of the subjects that she has already observed, I think we're looking forward to another opportunity to visit, facilities type issues that we experience, because those are high dollar items. So another opportunity we had, which several of us attended, was the A through F accountability for non-educators. It was very well presented, gave the accountability system in a very, I would say, concise manner that I was able to better relate to, and look forward to additional discussions on the A through F accountability system. It gave us an opportunity to learn about not only the data, but how to evaluate the data. And I think that's a very large portion of what we'd be doing down the road. We had a meeting, a lunch meeting with the Texas School Alliance, and learned about legislative updates, which Waco ISD is very fortunately, part of the Texas School Alliance, learning about a lot of the legislative items that are coming to us through Austin. Mr. Manning, Ms. Tikel, and myself attended a board officer seminar where we had very extensive discussions on items that Mrs. Tikel has already mentioned tonight, restructuring elements based on legislative changes for our board agendas and open meetings issues. So those are all items that we were able to learn about, discuss, and begin implementing into our current agenda items that you see in Ms. Tikel referenced tonight. So all in all, my perspective, it was a great conference. It is done for continuing education for board members, so we got a lot of hours out of the way. It was a very busy weekend, but it was very beneficial. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Houston.
Well, it was the first time that I was in attendance at one of these, and I have to go to a lot of continuing legal education because everybody has to do that to maintain their, state bar card. And so I will say that I was like, because a lot of continuing legal education is very dry and presented very dryly. And so I was kind of anticipating it was going to be, kind of like I've had experiences before. But I have to say I went to the new board member training, and it was fantastic and dynamic and very interesting, and gave us a lot of, I think, quick resources. So if we have questions in the future, we have people to talk to and also places to go and read for more information for things that, I know I'm not familiar with yet. And so it's really good to have a roadmap for where we could look up other things. And I found it to be a very beneficial conference.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Vidania.
I sat in one of the classes was about culture and how to move forward, and that was very interesting to learn how to try to get that through the district. And there were some other classes, but yeah, that was one of the best ones that I sat in.
So when we were, like Alan had said, or Mr. Sykes had said, we attended the A through F for non-educators. It was really informative, and I feel like it was a great framework to kind of understand what our campuses are really up against, and how, one little kind of sub pop that doesn't make it can totally tank your scores. And so I think it was really helpful, and it was actually really engaging. Another session that I went to was on the House Bill 3. And, TEA was talking about how it's taken them 6 months to unpack everything that is in this piece of legislation. But I think, as we continue moving forward, I think there can be some dynamic and innovative things that can be done within our district. And I think that the legislator is finally maybe seeing that, hey, they need to put kind of funding to where they're to kind of some of the issues that we're seeing in school districts such as ours. And so I'm excited, because I think there can be some really dynamic things that can happen within our district because of some of this funding. But I also understand that it's taken TEA 6 months to unpack all of it. So it's a very large bill, but the potential, I think, is very exciting. Ms. Benson was talking about the dual language program, and that is one of the programs that the legislator is funding, these dual language programs. And I think that is something that is needed and something that's a benefit to our students. And so, I walked away and I felt like I wanted to watch 6 months worth of videos. Maybe not 6 completely, but wanted to watch some of these videos just because I wanted to kind of wrap my mind around everything that I'm thankful that the legislators have taken a look at and are looking at how they can help school districts. And so, but yet again, 6 months of videos is a bit.
They produced a lot of videos on all the various different components, and they're pretty dry.
Yeah.
But there is great funding in some weights for some programs, such as the dual language students who are in dual language program, additional weighting, and then some other categories as well.
They also said to be very strategic in the planning and making sure that we really don't just rush into something, but really have kind of a strategic plan, which I noted, because that's important, not just to throw it around, but really to look at things strategically and implement kind of this plan that would potentially roll out. So
I had actually took a picture of some statistics we heard at the luncheon that you mentioned that was really compelling and that stuck with me. And that was that there are 636 campuses that have less than 20% of their student population that is economically disadvantaged in the state. Of those 636 campuses, 98.6% of them received an A or a B in the accountability system. Okay? Now, Of the 2,821 campuses that have more than 80% of their students economically disadvantaged, only 48.7% of those campuses received an A or a B, and 223 of those campuses received an F. 223 of those campuses received an F, and there were no schools who received an F if their student population had less than 20% economically disadvantaged. So, my understanding is that perhaps the next challenge we're going to see is to our accountability system and how it is that a system that's supposed to level the playing field for all of our kids doesn't seem to be doing that. So, that was the stat that I keep going back to. All in all, it was a great conference. Thanks, everybody, for sharing. A good weekend. Thank you, Mr. Dupuis, particularly. Does anybody have anything else before we move to announcements? No? Okay, announcements. Mr. DeVere.
I have just two announcements tonight, and the first is a correction from special recognitions. When I introduced the incredible Parents as Teachers team, I said that they're serving the families of 18 young children. In reality, they actually serve the families of more than 90 future Waco ISD students, and I certainly apologize for the mistake, and I'm glad I have this opportunity to get it right. The second thing that I wanted to announce tonight is we have incredible things happening at our campuses for Hispanic Heritage Month. We're not quite 2 weeks into the month of celebrations. There are too many to list tonight, but I would encourage our families to check out what's happening on their campuses and get connected to those celebrations, because there really are special events happening throughout the month for students, but also for families and the community as a whole. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, the board will reconvene into closed session pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.074, regarding personnel. We will be returning in open session, but only to adjourn. No additional action will be taken. So you're welcome to stay, but since no action will be taken, I welcome you to go home to your families. So with that, good night. The board is reconvening in open session. We've been in closed session where no action was taken, and at 9:35 p.m. we are adjourned. Thank you.